I'd like to call to order this meeting of the Finance Committee, March 7th, 2023. Let's see. Councilman Robert is going to lead us in the invocation and the pledge, please.
Thank you, Lord, for bringing us all here tonight, bringing us here safely. Help us, God, to conduct the parish's business, to put the people first, to make the decisions for the people. And God, help everyone get home safely tonight, protect everyone's family. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Madam Secretary, we have Councilman Cagnolati, Councilman Thomas, Councilman Melanson, Councilman Turner, and Councilman Ogeron out. We have just enough for a quorum. Thank you for everybody for coming. I have no chair additions for tonight. The public comment, if anyone wants to speak on any items that we have listed on the agenda, just see Ms. Ashley. She'll get you one of the red or green slips to get to us to go ahead and talk about it. Item 5, general business. Item 5A, we have Ascension Economic Development to introduce Project Viper, a clean hydrogen works LA1 LLC doing business as Ascension Clean Energy for participation in the ITEP under Post-Executive Order 2018 rules. Ms. MacArthur.
Good evening. There we go. I actually, since this is a new project looking at locating an Ascension, we have a representative from the company that's going to do a much better job explaining this new project to you. But just to add a little bit to it, it is a company called Ascension Clean Energy that is looking at a $7.5 billion investment in the West Bank that would create 350 new permanent jobs. And that during construction, it's estimated that $46 million of sales and use tax revenue would be generated, and that over the life of this project, $437 million in direct property tax revenue will be collected for the parish, and that's $483 million total. And then the exemption amount with the ITEP would be approximately $359 million over the 10 years. So V. Godley is here to explain what the project is in greater detail and answer any questions. But if you have any other questions on the numbers, just let me know.
Good evening, everybody. My name is V. Godley, and I am with ACE, Ascension Clean Energy. I want to thank y'all for listening to me this evening real briefly. I've been told to keep it 3 to 5 minutes, so I'm going to do that. So, as Kate indicated, we are looking at investing about $7.5 billion. The project will be producing clean hydrogen / clean ammonia. And basically what we're doing is we're producing this product for the energy sector. As the globe is pursuing a clean energy alternative, we're looking to generate an energy source that can capture over 98% of the carbon during manufacture and then provide basically a carbon-free solution for both firing power generation devices globally as well as the emerging shipping market for that. As Kate also indicated, we will be creating 350 full-time jobs. These will be locally hired people, the vast majority. In fact, we are looking at putting in employment and training programs to assist people that otherwise may have barriers to employment to come to work for us. During construction, we'll peak at about 1,500 construction workers, even though we'll modularize and bring in probably 40 to 60% of the plant under modules. It's still a tremendous construction effort. Currently, we're still in the planning stages. We target hitting FID, final investment decision, around third quarter 2024. We're going through our different environmental studies, doing all of our fatal flaw analysis, moving forward from that. So the goal being third quarter 2024. We're looking at about a 36-month construction window, and that would put us in the COD, commercial operation date, sometime around the end of 27, beginning of 28, what we're looking for. Part of our process is capturing carbon and that will move to Danbury. Danbury will take it through their existing infrastructure and move it to their storage sites. Our process dedicates that and moves it through them to their storage facilities. That's a very high level. If you guys have questions, I'd love to answer them.
Councilman Robert has a question.
Well, first question I have to ask since Coach isn't here. Are y'all going to hire any of your people off the West Bank whenever you're operating this plant construction?
That is our goal. Our goal, we are West Bank located. There is a very big employment opportunity there, and we want to make sure those people
And
have
I'm
the
East Bank
opportunity.
too, so I mean,
I'm sorry, sir?
I'm also East Bank, so if you could hire people from the East Bank. But, my serious question is, are y'all doing hydrogen in canisters? I read that American Airlines is investing now in hydrogen fuel for, using for
So
airplanes.
what we're doing is we're bringing in natural gas and we're converting that to hydrogen. So in our process, it's an endothermic, or everything's contained inside. So we split the natural gas molecule apart. Carbon goes with some water to form CO2 that goes to storage. The hydrogen molecules come in and we produce hydrogen. Then from that, we convert it to ammonia. And the reason we convert it to ammonia is because it's very expensive and difficult to transport hydrogen. Hydrogen stores at a negative 253 degrees C. Ammonia is minus 30 degrees C. So we can ship ammonia, we can transport ammonia. Actually, power generation, those sorts of industries are actually burning the ammonia, and the marine fleet is actually looking at ammonia as its alternative fuel source. So you can deliver it to market and split and pull the hydrogen back out of that, or you can use it just as ammonia as an energy subject in itself.
So people will be using it, just the hydrogen as an energy source?
Yes.
Okay, and, all right, let's just, thank you.
And Mr. Lawler, you're sitting in Chase's chair, it threw me off. Come on. Yeah, supposed to be one now. It's okay, go ahead.
I can't believe y'all are putting a fat man on TV, but that's another time.
You had a question?
No.
Oh, you were this
I think you said you got to ask one anyway.
It's-
Neither of these lights.
Oh, Miss Terry, you got one, sorry. Go ahead. Somebody's sitting in Chase's chair and it's throwing me off.
Well, I could be in the wrong
It's
chair.
okay.
'Cause I struggle with that.
Sorry.
Sir, I'm curious if you are working closely with AEDC and with the parish administration to determine how best to house your employees for construction, and then how to manage traffic. I hope, and I'm sure you're going to tell me that that's being.
Those are all very important topics and part of what we'll be doing over the coming months. We're obviously in the early stages now, but we'll be working with all the local officials relative to all those aspects to make sure we have clear, concise understanding of where these people are going to stay, how they're going to transport to and from the site. One thing we do not want to do is impact people's daily lives and going to and from their places of employment, or going to the grocery store for that matter. So, well, we do understand and recognize that, and that is a key part of our process.
Thank you very much. If I follow up, please, sir. You're working with Denbury to do the transportation of your CO2.
Yes, ma'am.
And that's below the river transfer?
Danbury has an existing pipeline that's been in this parish for, I guess, the last 30 years or so. And our site is about 1,000 feet to that pipeline. So we will tie directly into that pipeline, and then Danbury actually takes ownership of the CO2 and stores it in their wells that they're developing. And those wells could be anywhere up and down their line.
Right. Thank you very much. I appreciate you.
Mr. Wagasback.
Yes, sir. Thanks for coming tonight. I just had a question. This may be down the road or maybe Danbury to answer, but I know that there's certainly some environmental concerns about the carbon capture. Do you feel like that's something that we could see a presentation on? I know it's around Lake Maurepas and it's in a different parish, but there's certainly a lot of people in this parish that use that lake. So is that something we we could see in the future, or?
We could actually make an arrangement to have Danbury come in and present with us. I'm not qualified to speak to that,
Yeah,
although
no,
from
I
a
realize that.
technical standpoint,
Right.
I think it's probably the safest measure known to man. But let them come and talk to you about it. And they would love to do that, because the last thing they want is misinformation about, a technology that's been in use for 40, 50 years. And that's the thing you got to think about, is when you're looking at these type of things, it seems new, so it may be scary, but a lot of these things we're talking about is just another version of what's been going on since the 60s.
Okay.
Councilman, that's not our pipeline.
No, he knows. Yeah.
That's going.
Yeah, no, I know.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's not us.
But we can request them to come in and talk to you
Okay.
guys.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Robert?
I got a follow-up question on what I was asking before, and it may be off the subject, but if we have hydrogen as a fuel source, let's just say in these airplanes, what happens when two airplanes kind of crash? What type of safety, is
I'm
that
having
like
a hard time hearing you. I apologize.
I said, what is the safety measures if any of these transportation?
So again, by converting hydrogen into ammonia, we're not actually transporting
No,
hydrogen.
but you were saying that it's ultimately going to be used as pure hydrogen.
No, it's going to be used as ammonia. It can be cracked again and brought back to a hydrogen state, but by and far, most of the end use is actually using the ammonia itself.
When they're
as
bringing
the-
it back to the hydrogen state, what are they doing with it?
I'm sorry.
What do they do with it when they bring it back to the hydrogen state?
If they bring it back to a hydrogen state, it's going to be probably in Europe, where they will be using it and putting it in hydrogen pipelines to use in like hydrogen fuel cells for truck, heavy haul transportation and that sort of stuff. That's what they're looking at. But most of the industry that's currently demanding it has actually decided that ammonia is a safer and better product to deal with. So again, that's not something we do. We produce the hydrogen, turn it into ammonia, and sell it to our clients. Some of our clients may down the road need the hydrogen back in its hydrogen form, but that's something that's outside the scope of our work or our contracts with them.
And dealing with it, extracting the carbon, separating it, I can imagine a worst-case scenario as far as any type of explosion.
Well, I think I understand your question is, and correct me if I'm wrong, but when you take ammonia and you crack it to get back to hydrogen, you produce nitrogen. So that's your byproduct that they would deal with through scrubbers, through catalytic scrubbers. From our standpoint, bringing in natural gas and then cracking the hydrogen out of the natural gas molecule, the CO2 stream goes directly into compression into Danbury storage line. So that's never exposed to atmosphere. That's all inside of a big vessel.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, sir. We appreciate your time tonight.
Thank you all. Have a good evening.
Chair will entertain a motion.
Motion?
Okay, got a motion from Mr. Lambert. Second from Mr. Lawler. Oh, we gotta wait for Ms. Terry to come back, because there's only 5 of us. So how's everyone's week? We can wait. Hmm? Aaron, you want to go check? I think that's what Dempsey's going to do. Thank you, Dempsey.
Moving this along.
Yeah. She's here. All right, so I have a motion from Councilman Lambert and a second from Councilman Lawler. Do you have any objections? Any questions? Awesome. We will send this to full council for approval. Item B, Ascension Economic Development to introduce Project Point, Freepoint Ecosystems, Baton Rouge Recycling LLC for participation in ITEP under Post-Executive Order 2018 rules.
All right, and I apologize to Ashley. I did forget to mention that in your packet, there was a resolution that goes on to the council, and it had a typo. There was one spot in the previous one that said Geismar, where it should have said Donaldsonville. So, but just wanted to mention that it's been corrected. And then on this one, it should say Darrow instead of Geismar. But I did pick that up today, but it's already been sent over. But just to bring that to your attention. All right, so this is another new project to Ascension. So again, we do have the company here tonight to explain to you what they do and what they would like to do here. And this one is called FreePoint Ecosystems, and they're looking at making a $350 million investment in Darrow. That would create $1.5 million of sales and use tax during construction and $11.4 million in direct property tax over the life of the project, for $12.9 million in direct property taxes to the parish. And the ITEP exemption for this project is approximately $9 million over 10 years. So we have Deidre McCaffrey here from FreePoint to explain what they do with a short PowerPoint presentation.
Thanks, Kate. My name is Deirdre McCaffrey with FreePoint Ecosystems, and appreciate the opportunity to be here with you. So, yeah, okay. Basically, a one-sentence overview is our company takes hard-to-recycle plastics that would otherwise be bound for landfills and converts them into a feedstock that petrochemicals can use to make new plastic resin. The project, we actually have one project under construction currently in Ohio, and there is another project like this actually in operations in Ohio. So while it sounds like a new idea, it is in existence. But the basic process is called pyrolysis, which is taking large kilns, about 1,200 degrees, and heating things in an oxygen-free environment so that the chemical makeup of the plastic feedstock isn't changing. From the kiln, you'll get basically it vaporizes everything. From the vapor, we then put it through condensation to cool it down to create a pyrolysis oil and a pyrolysis syngas. Those two products are then taken by other petrochemical companies to further refine them into a new plastic feedstock. Unchanged, and it can be an infinite loop. You can recycle it as many times as you need to. So a quick overview, the site we're looking at is in Darrow. It's $350 million. We will have 5 full-time employees with our company, and we'll be using a third-party contractor for 30 full-time operation and maintenance positions. It's about a 3-year construction period, which would have about 250 jobs. Our feedstock would be coming in via rail and truck. So we will have rail facilities on our properties, and the outbound products would be piped off. So on our facility, we'd have rail, we'd have conveyor systems to move our feedstocks, we'd have silos to hold the feedstock, and then what is very similar to general petrochemical, we'd have kilns, towers, things like that. And then Kate has walked through the economics here. Let's see. Our company, we believe in being very involved within the community. This is where our employees are. Our kind of motto is we give where we live. We're active. We currently give all employees 2 days off a year to volunteer. So we're excited to join the community. You know, we don't just show up, but we kind of like to take a position in the town and work and give there. So that's the 50-cent tour.
Mr. Lawler has a question for you.
I have actually 2 questions. First of all, since you're touching on employees, I invite everybody here, talking about the ITEP stuff, to stay around. We're going to have a presentation on the Ascension Parks Foundation. Shout out to them. It's just a way that companies can participate in our recreation programs around the parish. But really, I was curious about the heavy plastics. What type of plastics do you... I don't know what that is.
The plastic feedstock will be coming from post-industrial or post-consumer. So if you have a large consumer manufacturing plant and they have 50,000 empty bottles that weren't used because they changed the product line, a lot of those end up in the trash right now. So we actually reach out to get the post-industrial plastic or even just the cuttings from the moldings, anything like that. We are also looking at sorting municipal trash. So we're reaching out within this area and other parts of the country to build in sorting lines, so it's headed into the landfill. We would sort out and take all the, we take anything out that could find value. If it was aluminum cans, why have them in the, we'd take them out and sell them. But really what we're looking for is the plastics we could use as feedstock.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay. I have a motion from Mr. Lawler, a second from Ms. Cazzo. Do you have any questions? Mr. Robert?
I do have a question. It sounds like a cool process, and you brought, the last thing you said, as far as working with the municipal landfills or working with the landfills, one of my things that I would like to do in Ascension Parish is to create a landfill that's parish-owned or parish-partnered. So I'm assuming y'all have the ability to work with the Corps and to go through and get permits and do all the types of stuff to actually possibly do a landfill?
We have never built a landfill ourselves,
Yeah.
but we are getting very familiar with the process of permitting.
Well, if y'all
it.
decide to think about building a landfill in that process, why don't you give me a call? Because I think it would be a great thing for the parish to be able to offer the
And we would be
residents
big proponents of wanting you guys to have a landfill because the plastic would be right here, and that's less place to move it and fastest place for us to get it. So we would be big supporters of it.
Ms. Cazzo?
So same question as I had for the last folks. What do you plan to do to address the infrastructure issues, your employees, the congestion that all of those contractors bring?
So part of our analysis, similar to my predecessor here, while we're looking at our total feed and construction, we would be analyzing what is the safety of bringing people on? Should we put them off-site and bus them in, depending on how large it is at the different stages of construction? Long-term, as I mentioned, we were talking 5 full-time and 30 part-time employees. So we'll be a 24-hour facility, so we would want to time them that it is least, it's the most convenient for the facility and the neighboring area not to have an overrun of traffic. So that will be studied, but I don't have a direct answer now.
Sure. And you'll work with our administration?
We'll be
to
going through all the
determine best-
zoning and planning, and I assume that will come up and be addressed at that time.
Absolutely. Ancillary jobs as a result of both of these projects. Kate, you can address that. I forgot to ask earlier. We think about the impact of your specific project, but I think sometimes we fail to think about all those jobs that come and all that ancillary business that's a part that so many of us and our constituents depend upon in order to service you. Kate, do you have that?
LED typically runs that analysis, and I'm almost positive that for the previous project, it was 1,400 indirect jobs that would be supported based on the needs for additional housing, hotels, restaurants, retail, in order to support a project of that size, and then all the jobs that are associated with those support activities, including valves, equipment rental, everything else that will supply that plant. And it would be the same thing for this one too, but on a smaller scale, because it is 35 direct employees, so it would maybe be tens of indirect jobs, but in that same impact. And so this facility would be located next to the Veolia and the Shell Convent, so in that little area next to the river, so kind of tucked in there.
Thank you. I think it's important that we remember that while we have these huge projects, there are tremendous numbers of jobs that are associated with those projects, and so many of our constituents are there employed. So while these things sound awesome and a little difficult sometimes to manage because of the impact they have, it's also important that we realize how many people they employ, not only in the specific project, but across the parish and other ancillary work. Thank you so much. We appreciate you being here.
All right. Any other questions? Okay, I have a motion and a second. Do I have any objections? All right, we will send that to full council for approval.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. All right, item C, discussion and recommendation of action on notice of non-compliant for contracts number 20170070-ITE and 2017 0234-ITE Mauser USA LLC and Talon Industries. Ms. MacArthur.
All right. So this is the unfortunate side of the ITEP. So Mauser USA is a plant located in Geismar, and they manufacture industrial bulk containers that go to the larger industrial plants around the area. And previously, they have been before the council for noncompliance in the past. And we did just get the letter from LED stating that they were noncompliant for the 2021 year of their contract they met the jobs, but they did not meet the payroll. They were 11% short of their payroll goal. So the last time that they came before the council, the resolution from the council recommended a future penalty equal to the percentage of payroll shortfall for any 1 year of noncompliance. So we took that into consideration and went to the AEDC Board of Directors, and narrowly they recommended conforming with the wishes of the council and levying the 11% penalty on, it would be tax year 2025, based on how the Commerce and Industry Board assesses penalties. They put it on the last year of the contract. So that's what we would be looking at recommending for this non-compliant 2021. And Mauser, which was sent to you all, did supply a reason for their non-compliance, and then also said that 2022 is good, that they will meet all of their goals and objectives, thankfully, and they look to continue that growth and their good production from that point on. But they did explain that because of the hurricane, electrical issues, and COVID, they just still struggled in 2021 to meet the payroll objectives. So that is the recommendation to send to the Board of Commerce and Industry, who ultimately does have the final decision, but does take into account what the local governing authorities would like to do.
To do what? I think we have to get really specific on the motion and what we want. No, I mean, like, what fine are we gonna levy?
I think we need to say a motion to approve an 11% fine consistent with the recommendation provided.
You good with that?
Yeah, that's what I said, motion.
Okay,
Motion to, take the recommendation, 11%.
okay. Kate, real quick, how much is that 11% gonna end up being, do you know, off the top of your head?
So it comes to between $5,000 and $6,000.
Oh, okay.
It would be, so instead of an 80% exemption, they would get a 69% exemption.
That's fine. All right, so I have a motion from Councilman Robert.
And I'll second it.
Okay, and I have a second from Councilman Lawler. Do I have any questions? Any objections? All right, we'll send that motion to full council for approval. Thank you. All right. And the last thing we have for Kate. Item D, a cooperative endeavor agreement between Ascension Economic Development Corporation, the Industrial Development Board, and Ascension Parish Government. The Industrial Development Board collects application fees and administrative charges and fees on a regular basis with respect to its authorized activities and wishes to use such money to promote economic development efforts directly to the AEDC to be used for budgetary purposes and further economic development activities.
Motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion from Councilman Lawler, a second from Councilwoman Cazzo. Do I have any objections? Any questions? That motion will be sent to full council. Thank you, Kate.
Thank you.
Item E, approval of request to increase Level 2 administration dollar amount threshold for the settlement of liability and automobile claims from $10,000 to $25,000. Lucy or Patrick, you take this one?
Lucy is not here, so I'll just take care of this one real quick. This was actually a recommendation by the chairman of the council because there were so many issues that were coming to the council that were under that threshold. The thought was, let's move it up so that the council doesn't have to hear as many and give a little bit of more authority so that we don't have to bring so many of these items because things are getting more expensive and these automobile claims are costing more. So just trying to streamline our process a little bit.
Second.
I have a motion from Councilman Robert, a second from Councilman Lambert. Do I have any objections? Any questions? All right, the item is going to be sent to full council. Thank you, Mr. Goldsmith. Oh, Ms. Cazzo, sorry.
So we will get a list of these, Patrick. We won't be seeing a lot of them, most likely, but I think we should know that they're happening.
Sure, we can absolutely provide you a list. That's not a problem at all.
Thank you so much.
Sure.
That could go with all the other
The
contract
other
lists.
reports at the end of the,
Exactly. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
I'm
You're
not,
next on the agenda? Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
I'm not Derek Murphy.
All right. So item F is considered to grant variance for the sewer development fee for River Mark 185 in Ascension Commerce Center. We have not Derek Murphy. What's your name?
My name is Vincent Orlando. I'm the
Okay.
civil engineer for the project.
Okay.
So I'm here to answer any questions you may have. It's a 200,000 square foot industrial distribution facility, and we're just requesting that the sewer variance fee is specifically related to section 18-117.5 be waived. There's no public infrastructure available on Industrial Drive, so we'll be implementing a 3,000 gallons per day sewer treatment plant.
Motion.
Second.
I have a question from Mr. Robert, but I do have a motion from Councilman Lawler and a second from Councilwoman Cazzo. Mr. Robert.
And it was just a question for Mr. Goldsmith, that we do on this with all these projects in this, correct?
well, I'm sorry, what was the question?
This is how we treat all of these projects when they don't have the infrastructure. We just,
I think that might be better for Mr. Dawson.
Yes.
And I can add a little bit to it, but go ahead, Bill.
I know I ask it every time, but I just want to
Yeah,
make sure.
it is. Go ahead.
No, that's correct. So if people are not tying into our parish sewer, which we're not going to have and we don't have, then they don't pay the development fee.
No objection.
You good? Okay. So I have a motion, a second, excuse me. Any more questions? No objections. All right, motion carries. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Item G, cooperative endeavor agreement with National Water Infrastructure to supply certain sewage treatment services to Renaissance Treatment Plant and to add an additional amount of $3,375.21 for the 2022 and renewal amount of $88,000 for 2023.
Motion.
I have a motion from Mr. Lambert, a second from Mr. Lawler. Any questions? Any objections? We'll send that to full council. I have approval of the certificate of substantial completion for Kennedy Mechanical Services for the Lamar Dixon Expo Center commissary AC replacement. I have a motion from Mr. Wagsback, a second from Mrs. Cazzo. Any questions? Any objections? I just want to let you guys know too, I did talk to Patrick. He is trying to get it to where we don't have to continue to do these substantial completions anymore. We're going to have them just on a report. So eventually everything's just going to be on a report that we all look at. Just going forward, eventually. All right, item H is good. Item I, approval of site sponsorship agreement with Jerry Lane Chevrolet in the parish of Ascension, DBA Lamar Dixon Expo Center. I have a motion from Mr. Lawler. Second from Mr. Robert. Do I have any questions? Any objections? All right, send it to full council.
Just a comment, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, yes, ma'am. Ms.
So,
Cazzo?
I appreciate the effort to put a lot of these things onto reports, but I think there needs to be a mechanism where if a councilman questions that, one of those, they can have it removed from that report and added to the agenda for discussion, much as we do a consent agenda item. Because, we're giving a lot of latitude to people in the administration to just decide. And so I would really, it's our fiduciary responsibility to know what's happening. And so I would appreciate it if you all, Patrick, would develop a way, as I previously spoke, to have us see these things and be able to request they be removed from that list for discussion.
Sure, and we're still working on that process of how this is going to flow. And again, this was another request from a council member, because we get it, there's a lot of items that are on the agenda, and this isn't one that requires council approval, but it is definitely something that needs to be reported, and we can try to work out a process to where there's questions, we can definitely get that heard.
Appreciate that, thank you.
And I'll absolutely support that, Ms. Cass. So anytime anybody wants to put anything on the agenda, I'm not gatekeeping the agenda. You guys can put whatever you want on it. Okay, let's see. Item J, approval of amendment number 1 to the legal services contract with Butler Snow LLP to include additional scope of work, Ascension Parish Bell Sylvan Infrastructure District, for an additional amount of $25,000. The new contract not to exceed amount is $60,000. Mr. Fournier?
Motion to approve.
All right, Mr. Fournier, we got a motion from Councilwoman Cazzo. Second from Mr. Lawler. Any questions? Any objections? None carry. All right, you're good, Mr. Fournier. Send that to full council. We have a item K, a cooperative endeavor agreement between Ascension Parish Government and the Ascension Parks Foundation for the purposes of operation and maintenance of recreational programs and activities throughout Ascension Parish. Mr. King.
Hello. So this is a cooperative endeavor agreement with the Ascension Parks Foundation. And basically what we're going to do, they are a new nonprofit. I've got Tia Starr, the president, over here. She's going to explain a little bit about what they do. But they're going to go out and hopefully raise some good funds and get some projects going in some of our parks, which are much needed. And so this is a cooperative endeavor agreement that will allow us to do business with them, to start working with them. And then I think the way we've kind of worked it out is subsequently, as we go along, every project, every kind of big fundraiser, we'll kind of go through and do additional CEAs on that to be able to work that out. Is that how we work that out? Yeah. Okay. So I'll let Tia take over for a few minutes.
All right. Thank you. So I just wanted to go over real quickly our mission and vision for the Park Foundation. So the mission of the Ascension Parks Foundation is to improve the health, wellness, and quality of life while conserving green space in the Ascension community. And we're going to do that by working with the Parish of Ascension Recreation Department. We also want to improve access and give different options for recreation in the parish. It's me and 6 other board members. I'm just here presenting on our behalf. So some of our goals that we have is to raise funds to go towards capital projects for the parks and recreation, transform and beautify parks in order to promote residents staying local, and then organize and promote community engagement with the parish parks and recreation department. And so this is actually a real picture from something that we went out and did with a group that was looking to plant trees. This is at Paula Park. So they went out, they planted trees. I think they planted about 8 of them, and it was mainly in-kind donations, and our foundation was there to help support them, but then also bridge the gap sometimes that there is between, residents wanting to get involved in the community and, Michael getting tons of requests. So we were able to help get them together and plant some trees. And then lastly, this is our board of directors. Not everybody was able to come tonight, but it's always nice to put a face to the name. So it is myself, we have Brandon Bennett, we have Chase Ruiz, who is here, we have Monica Arnold, who is here, Brian Henderson, who is here, and then we also have Wes Meter and Macy Gaucher.
All right.
So do y'all have any questions?
Mr. Lawler.
Tia Starr, your middle name is super, by the way. So.
Absolutely.
Now, just thank you, first of all, for everything that y'all have done. You've been working with Michael on this. I was hoping that some of the people from industry could have stayed to hear this, because that's what we're aiming for, is to get the people from industry to see that now there's an opportunity that when they have donation dollars, they can look at Ascension Parish. They haven't been able to do that before, so this is the chance for them to now to give back to Ascension Parish in a way they couldn't do it before. But it's not just for big industry also. This is for everyday people that want to get involved, that want to help our parks. Now we have a way to do it. So this is, thank y'all for doing this. I'll make motion to approve.
Second.
Okay. I have a couple of questions first. Mr. Robert.
Yes. I have a question in particular about kayaking and canoeing, because we have so many waterways and hopefully some cleaner water in them here in the near future. But on that same token, or in that same note, possibly even offering opportunities for our young or, possibly entrepreneurs that are getting out of high school to do some type of rentals. Maybe you have like a canoe rental place that you can offer, where we have a little place built and people can lease the places, or different ideas like that. I think you could get some people within the community that have larger amounts of land on some of these different waterfronts to donate some of the land. And same thing with the in-kind services. You get some people involved to maybe do some of these buildings or to donate some material. We could really not only create something that our parish really doesn't have, that we need. I mean, everybody has kayaks. Everybody doesn't have them, but there is a place for everybody to use one. I mean, everywhere. So I think just possibly doing that, looking at some of the different landowners and looking at the future of our kids could be a great, I don't know, future idea for your board.
Yeah, I agree. That's the point.
No, that is the whole point of all this, is connecting everybody for those reasons.
And I mean,
and
obviously
keeping
not
them
just
something
canoeing and
new.
kayaking, but any aspects of the hiking and
Right.
any of the outdoor, possibly even hunting and things like that, fishing, et cetera.
And while you mentioned it, those are things that we're looking into as well already. Got a proposal last week for putting together a Blue Way master plan, so looking at these waterways and how we can tie into that, what people need, where we can go. So if there are those people, we can kind of meet up.
And I mean, you have these kids in high school. I mean, I have actually a few friends of mine that are in some of these Bassmaster things and whatnot tournaments that, I mean, Louisiana has a lot of great fishermen. We could offer the young kids a place to do guides or tackle shops, et cetera, et cetera.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Lambert.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Appreciate the trees at Paula Park. We definitely needed them. We had a few months ago, we had this conversation, the size of our parks. A lot of our parks we've outgrown. The parking and different things. Do y'all have any ideas or anything that we could possibly partner with, or y'all have any ideas on that?
So we're just now getting started with that. So in terms of, this is very distracting. In terms of recreation being able to go in, and we are working on plans for parking in different spaces and what we're going to utilize everything for already. And then what we kind of do, the way this partnership will work with the foundation is basically we can go to them, say, hey, we have these projects we're working on. Can you find somebody to help us out with that? Or if they talk to somebody in the community that says, oh, we think you need this here, then they'll kind of come to us and we see how we can work that out. So this is basically just to get us started so we can kind of kick things off.
Appreciate the hard work.
Mr. Robert.
One more thing about the different parks and whatnot that you kind of brought up. There are funds out here, I know, for different sidewalks. If we can get some of these parks and some of these properties close enough to possibly get them to pass for some of the grants. I know I've spoken with a couple of people, engineers out here that have shown me these funds and they're available. So that's something else I'd like to look at. You could do, like you go to these places in New Orleans that you have the bikes, you can rent bikes and go to the different businesses and the different pubs or restaurants, et cetera. So I'd like to also look at that.
I'm all in on that.
Thank you.
Awesome. Any other questions? All right, I have a motion and a second. Do I have any objections? All right, it carries. We'll send it to full council. Thank y'all very much.
Thank you.
Item L, approval of amendment number 13 to the professional services contract with All South Consulting and Engineers for grants management and disaster recovery project management activities to extend the contract term through November 30th, 2023, and to increase the total contract amount by an additional $345,000 for a total contract amount of $1,476,100. Ms. Wilkinson. Oh, I have a motion from Mr. Robert.
Second.
Second from Mr. Lambert. Do I have any questions? Any objections? All right, motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Approval amendment number 1 to the master service agreement with Corporate Mechanical Contractors, Inc. for HVAC maintenance and repair in parish facilities to increase the total budget amount of these services by an additional $150,000 for a new budget amount of $350,000. This budget amount is being shared between 2 companies. I have a motion by Councilwoman Cazzo. Second by Mr. Robert. Any objections? Any questions? All right, send that to full council. Approval amendment number 1 Thank you.
Hallelujah.
I have a motion from Mr. Lawler for item N, and a second from Mr. Robert. Any objections?
You also had a hallelujah.
And I had a hallelujah from, that should be on the record. Do I have any objections?
God himself had to intervene.
Motion carries to full council for approval. Approval of contract between Ascension Parish and Hendrick Construction for the roundabout at Public Road 929 and Parker Road, and for the approval, I have a motion from Mr. Lawler. Second from Mr. Wagasback. Do I have any objections? Any questions? All right, motion carries, and it's full council. Item P, approval of certificate of substantial completion for Material Resource, Inc. for asphaltic concrete pavement preservation, MasterCon. I have a motion from Mr. Robert, a second from Ms. Cazzo. Any objections? Any questions? Send that to full council. Item Q, approval amendment number 1 to the Cooperative Endeavor Agreement with Capital Area Human Services District to renew and extend the original agreement for an additional year. The parish shall reimburse CAHSD $4,345.83 per month, which is half of the monthly rental rate of $8,691.66, and one half of the monthly. I have a motion from Mr. Robert.
Second.
And a second from Ms. Cazzo. Do I have any objections? Any questions? All right, send that to full council for approval. And finally, item R, the contract report of all contracts and agreement entered into the month of February 2023. They have been sent to us already, if anybody has any questions. And like Ms. Cazzo requested earlier, if anybody wants to pull one of those off to add to the agenda for discussion, I'll be glad to do that at any time. Just shoot me an email. I know Dow, we kind of had a conversation about some, so if you want, we can put that on the next one. Whatever you want to do, I'm glad to do that.
Perhaps we should make it, Mr. Chairman, a policy that we are offered the opportunity, like we are on the consent agenda, to, does anyone have any one of these they want to have removed? That could be part of the process of the meeting. And we could do that with this list and any other list. So it would just be a routine question at the end of the of a moment of observation.
You're good with that? I mean, I don't see any problem with that.
Yeah, I think I'll get with Jean Paul, and we'll kind of work out the process of how and we'll present it to y'all, and we'll try to make it as efficient as possible. So we'll make it work.
Okay, thank you. All right, so no motion is required for that one. And then the financial update, obviously. Yeah, I'm sorry? Oh, I'm sorry, now I didn't see it. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just gonna ask, if you don't mind, Ashley, could you send us that Excel sheet every month along with the agenda, or in a separate email? It's kind of hard to go through it on the PDF.
Yeah, I can send it to you.
That's fine.
For everybody.
Yeah. we can make
Yeah,
it-
for everybody. Yeah, not just me. Just makes it easier to peel through things and.
I would like to just say, we would need notice. If you had questions about the contract, we would need a representative here to discuss it. So we would need some advance notice. So we would have to put a whole policy together on how we would do that. So
We
just keep
usually
that in
go
mind.
through, our agenda the Thursday before the meeting, so I'll make sure we get that out to y'all that Thursday afternoon. And that gives you Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday to add anything to it that you want to add to pull off for the contracts or anything. We'll be glad to do that for y'all. And if we need to move it up earlier, could we potentially move that up earlier, our meeting?
And let me just double check. We're talking about the substantial completion process, or are we talking about contracts?
Contract.
The contracts.
Because this list is contracts that's already entered into or contracts that are coming up for renewal. Any contract that requires council approval is on the agenda.
I think they just want to, like, if it's on the contract report and they just have any questions or they would like a little more information about it.
I would say in that case, if you called, we could probably, because like Jean Paul is saying, we would need to find the person. We'd probably need to do some research. Anytime y'all have a question on a contract, y'all are welcome to call me, and we can try to work through any issue. If you want to talk about a contract, again, most of these on this list are the ones that have passed or ones that are coming up in months to come, or have already been heard. So, but we're happy to answer any questions anytime about anything that's on the list. But if you do have a question and you know before the meeting, we can make sure we have the people here to talk about it.
Okay. All right, item 6A, like I said, financial update, open finances at the website. You can report it, and again, if you guys have any questions, just let us know. We'll be glad to take care of it. Motion to adjourn by Councilman Robert.
Second.
Second by Councilman Lambert. Any objections? All right, stay tuned for